Well, we've got a surprise for you this morning. It's Nicole on the red mic, the hot mic, and Molly she told me she was seeing a concert last night, and she said, and I'm never coming back.
Oh, really?
So I said, okay. So
Okay. We'll miss her.
I know.
Nice knowing Molly.
That's what I thought too.
I liked
Well,
her.
and I
Always
really
liked her.
appreciated that, Mark, you playing the Alanis lead-in to,
Right
after our
on.
chat about her last week. I saw Alanis at Blossom last week. It was the greatest day of my life.
No, your quote on Facebook was, "She was all that I thought she would be."
She was everything I knew she would be. Yeah.
That's great.
I tell you what, it was so wonderful. And she was at Riverbend this week, and everybody in the central, Midwestern states are we're reliving 1995. And that's really what it's all about, right?
It was a great year.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's Mark on the board. Good morning, Mark.
Hiya.
And our guest in the studio with us this morning is Chase Waits, Director of Communications and Community Engagement with the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Good morning. Thanks
That's a
for having
mouthful.
me.
Yeah. We are here celebrating the, 34th, yes, anniversary of the passage of the American with Disabilities Act.
That's right. Right. Back in 1990.
Yes. What a wonderful, so we'll relive the 1990s, with the passage of the ADA. We'll relive 95 with Alanis. We'll talk books. You've got a great show coming ahead of you this morning, so we can't wait to have you. Have you listen, have you talk, all the wonderful things. So Chase and I were just discussing before we got on air that there's a fun event happening at Willis Education Center this morning that both of us were setting up for and working in the heat yesterday. The Supplies for Scholars.
Yeah. It's a wonderful event, giving school supplies to people who need those, getting them ready for the school year. It's coming up real soon.
Yeah, we've got some folks from the library there, folks from DCBDD there, Helpline, our sponsor of this show, is there as well. Helpline has one of the best giveaways. It's a ball poppet fidget. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I think we have the best giveaway because we have the pencil boxes with the poppets on top.
Those are very good too, yes. And at the library table, we're giving away colored dry erase markers. So you get your school supplies with your pack of plain black, and then you come to the library table and you can pick your pink or your purple. School supplies can be fun.
They sound fun. Those
Right,
sound
Mark?
great. I love the Pop-It pencil
That's right.
box. That
That's right.
sounds
It's a hot
amazing.
commodity.
All right.
And colored
I think
chalky
Chase
erasers.
wins.
All right. Well, they're all cool. I like them all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that Supplies for Scholars is happening. We talked about that a little bit last week with Jen Rui, who was our guest. We talked about it a little bit the week before with Mallory from People in Need as our guest. And if you need school supplies for your kiddos, hop up to Willis Education Center before 11 this morning. The line is open now, and you can get all of your school supplies that you need. Backpacks, haircuts,
Shoes.
They've
got it all.
I mean, what more could you ask for? A lot of the kids were like not going back to school. That's what I could ask for.
It was a long line. I drove by there yesterday. That line was long, and it was hot out there, too.
Yeah. Typically on the Thursday, they serve about 800 families, 800 individuals. And then on Friday, they serve about another 300. So it's a big, big event. So we're happy to help. So we're going to talk books a little bit. Do you have anything that you've read recently, Chase, or anything that like when I say what's been the read of the summer that comes to the top of your mind?
Well, I don't know if I want to talk about what's been the read of the summer, but I want to talk about a book that is applicable for today.
Perfect.
For the ADA. So a book called Being Human. It's by Judith Heumann, who is well known as the mother of the disability rights movement. So it kind of chronicles her entire life story. She is ultimately who caused the ADA to come into fruition. Talks about when she was 5, she was not given the opportunity to attend public schools in New York because she uses a wheelchair, and she was deemed a fire hazard.
What?
So she had to fight that.
She was the fire hazard.
She was the fire hazard. She fought and she won. She also was the first public school teacher in the state of New York to use a wheelchair. She had to fight that as well because she was not deemed eligible just due to using a wheelchair. So that was back in the 70s. We've done a lot of great things since then.
Wow.
We're in a much, much different place. There's still a lot of ways to go.
And so this is a biography.
It is.
And is Judy still with us, or has she passed on?
She passed away last year.
Oh my gosh, just last year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It sounds like she really pioneered a lot of things. I cannot believe in the 70s that a wheelchair would be such a barrier to pretty much everything.
Absolutely. She organized the longest sit-in in a federal building. It's just for Section 504, so that's kind of the precursor to the ADA. And she organized that. It was over 20 days in a federal building, and all types of people with disabilities were there, kind of saying, "Hey, we are here. We need things to change."
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about that on the second half of the show, and all the things that we're working on together between our two agencies, what the board of DD is working on in your agency. There's been a lot of excitement around just great things that are happening in the community, and we're happy to be a part of it, and we're happy to be a part of a community that's really just so excited to push the bar of progress.
Yeah, we're so fortunate. Delaware County, I think, is trying to be the most inclusive county in the state of Ohio, and so we're eager to be a part of that.
Yeah. You tell me when we get that title. I think we're pretty close. We're reading less, what do I want to say, monumental things in our household. My girls picked up their summer reading club prizes, which if I have to mention, the end of summer reading club is coming this weekend. I believe when's the 27th? Is that Sunday? Monday? Something
Soon.
Coming up soon.
Saturday, I think.
Is it tomorrow?
Yes.
Goodness, it's Saturday. Okay, so thank you, everyone, keeping me in check. So the 27th is the end of our summer reading club, which means if you have been reading this summer, adults, teens, kids, all ages, you can come in and you can pick up your prizes. We want you to get them by Saturday if you possibly can. If you haven't come anywhere for your progress along the way, you can get your 6-hour and your 12-hour prize all in one fell swoop. And if you are like, I'm going out of town today and I'll be out on Saturday, just ask next week and we might still have them but behind the desk. But officially this Saturday, the summer reading club is ending. And so my girls went and picked up their prizes, and my youngest reader, she is going into first grade, picked up the Princess in Black series, and she got book 1, which we were so happy to have book 1 in that series. And now we are making our way onto book 3 and reserving all the way up through book 11. As you can imagine, we probably are going through these pretty fast. They are what we call a first chapter book. So if you have somebody who is actually learning how to read and they want to start reading the words on their own, they can do that. Or if you just have a kind of voracious reader and they want to be read to, but they're like, Mom, I'm too old for picture books. I'm in chapter books now. This is a really nice way to introduce them to the concept of a chapter book and how each chapter is an idea. And when the chapter ends, that idea has stopped. And now chapter 2, we're going to a new idea. And so the Princess in Black, she is Princess Magnolia by day, but then by night, actually, whenever her alarm bell rings, her rose ring rings on her bracelet, she is the Princess in Black. And there happens to be a colony of monsters that live nearby. And the monsters like to leave their underground lair where they have everything that they need except goats. They really want to eat goats. And there's a signal that talks to Princess Magnolia's little bell, and every time that they cross that barrier to go and try and eat a goat, the signal goes off and she's got to stop her princessly duties and she's got to go out to the field and put that monster back where it came from.
Makes sense.
Or so help me. And so then she goes to her broom closet. She transforms into the Princess in Black. Of course, no one knows who she is because a princess can't be fighting monsters all day. But that's what she's got to do. And it always seems to happen at the most unfortunate times as well. In book 1, she's got somebody who's kind of a nosy Nelly who's in her castle, who she's supposed to be showing off the castle to, but she keeps having to go away. And she's like, man, I hope this nosy Nelly doesn't snoop while I'm off fighting monsters. Book 2, she's got a perfect princess party. It's her own birthday party, and she keeps having to leave because of those darn monsters. Book 3, it just keeps getting more and more out of control. So I don't know where the series is going to take us, but I'm here for the journey.
It sounds wonderful.
It's really great. The Princess in Black, I highly recommend it for any of your readers who are getting into reading, want to get into that chapter book phase, love princesses, love fighting monsters. It's got everything.
Sounds like it.
High praise. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other half to talk to Chase Waits with the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities about the anniversary of the passage of the American with Disabilities Act. Stay tuned. You're so good, Mark.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I failed to ask you in the first half, and you said, I had a book too.
Yeah.
Tell us about your book, Mark.
Just off the top of my head, I don't have all the details. You guys go into all, the codes and everything. It was published in this year. I'm reading a collection of novellas about the Expanse TV series.
Yes.
That was on Sci-Fi for a long while. Then it was picked up. I think it was on Netflix for a little bit, and now Amazon Prime is running that. I'm still waiting on. I love the TV series. It is fantastic. For some reason, I never read the collection of books. I am now rectifying that as we speak.
Good.
I have a new quest, and there's a whole bunch of them. The Expanse series by Stephen S.A. Corey. S.A. Corey, which is it's James S.A. Corey. James S.A. Corey, which is a pseudonym for two different writers. It's a co-writing thing they got going on. But anyway, it's a collection of novellas, Memories Legion, about the Expanse series. And it goes, if you know anything about the Expanse series, it's about the fact that there really are Martians. And this is after we as humans have gone out and colonized Mars and have expanded out into the universe and from there on out. So the Martians really are enemies of people on Earth because they used to be Earthlings.
Yeah. But
then like everybody does whenever they get a colony, they get an attitude and like, oh, they're so far away and we want to govern ourselves. And so they had a revolution. And there really are Martians now. But, I mean, Martians are just like nothing. They've got asteroid belts, and there's belters on the asteroids because they go there and they mine for all the minerals. And they've expanded, They found the aliens left behind ring gates.
What?
Ring gates, and you can jump through the ring gates, and there are 1,300 different solar systems that the human race now has access to if you go through these ring gates.
I'm going to start referring to myself as an Earthling.
Yeah.
It's a term that I forget about. And if people are ever like, what are you? I'll be like, Earthling. Exactly.
I like it.
I think that was the first thing that made the series jump out at me because we always thought about Martians and little green men being aliens, but the idea
they're
that
just us.
They're just us.
Yeah, on a different planet.
Yeah, and maybe we did this already. Maybe back in the day, we've already gone to Mars. And
yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, you and my sister should talk. That's her conspiracy theory. She says that aliens are us, just in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I could get on board with it. I could get on board.
James S.A. Corey, I found this on the shelf at the downtown Delaware branch of the library, and I have on hold right now Altered Carbon, which is another one of my favorite TV science fiction shows.
Yeah.
And I've read the book 3/4 through, and then for some reason I ended up not seeing or reading the rest of it, and I'm really distraught about that. So.
The TV series came first, and then the books were written,
no,
or
I
kind
think
of
the books were first.
Books were first,
books
and then
were
the
always
TV
first,
series.
And
okay,
then the TV series.
Nice.
And Altered Carbon is waiting for me in the hold deck right now. I'm going to pick that up later on this afternoon.
Well, we'll see you later this afternoon.
If you happen to roll on by the branch, check and make sure it's there for me.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I'll give you a text.
Thanks. Appreciate that. That's what I'm reading today.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'm glad I asked. We are here back in the studio with Chase Waits, who is the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. How are you doing, Chase?
Doing well. How about you?
Good. We are talking about the anniversary of something pivotal that happened in 1990. So tell us a little bit about that.
So the Americans with Disabilities Act is probably the premier piece of civil rights legislation for people in the disability community. It really said that people with disabilities deserve to be included in the community, and that includes public accommodations. And we think accommodations, that's not, it's not lodging. It includes lodging. It's not just hotels. You think accommodations. It means any place in the public where you could enter.
Yeah.
So stores, libraries, things like that. It also encompasses employment and transportation. So you see a lot of the side effects of the ADA in our society, and it has really done a lot, but there's so much more that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. People might think about things that seem fairly obvious. Thinking about things like crosswalks.
Yep.
Thinking about things like you said, with vehicles, maybe accessible vehicles, parking spaces is probably two of the major things. But there's a lot of small things that even you've brought to my attention as we work together on buildings. So what are some of the things within a facility that have really become new or apparent that people are paying attention to?
Well, let's talk about just accessing the facility first. So,
Right.
like you mentioned, going into the parking lot, the number of ADA accessible spaces are set out in the ADA. So there's a required number based on the capacity of the building. Then there has to be a path to get in. So you have to have a ramp that's accessible, and there's a certain requirement about how steep that can be. And then doors, making sure the doors can be opened by a person with a disability. Now that may be an automatic door. The libraries have great automatic sliding doors that work wonderfully. But also, if it's a door that you have to open yourself, that has to have a certain amount of pressure so that someone with a disability can open that on their own. That includes things like lever handles. Lever handles are ADA accessible. A round handle would not be.
What do we do when we get into a place that has a historic impact to it, like our downtown Delaware? That's a hard kind of place because you want to keep the history of the downtown, but also you want to comply with the code. So how do we wrestle with that?
So there is a huge misnomer that old buildings don't have to be compliant with the ADA. So if a building was built before 1990, there is a thought that maybe this building doesn't have to be compliant. That's not true. There is no grandfather clause in the ADA unless it's an actual building that's on the historic registry. So there are some buildings that are on the historic registry. Those things don't necessarily have to be compliant unless it would fundamentally alter the building itself. But as far as older buildings, there are a lot of things that we can do. We can raise sidewalks to meet steps. There's a lot of really great things happening throughout the state of Ohio right now where downtowns are revitalizing. They're putting money into kind of raising the sidewalks so they meet the front of the storefronts.
Right. Sometimes there's just that it's like a 5-inch little bump up that for some reason, so that wouldn't be too much of an incline.
It wouldn't be.
Right. To just pour some concrete.
Right. And you can kind of change the layout of the sidewalks and you wouldn't even notice that it wasn't compliant before because it just is now.
Well, half of these downtowns are built on hills anyway. So just add another little incline to it and you'll be fine.
Right.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about buildings. One of the things that you've always pointed out that I have really grasped onto that is helpful for me, and we've talked about this a lot with accessibility, is that if it's good for someone with a disability, it's also good for everyone else as well. We can benefit in a lot of different ways. But doorknobs, you mentioned that earlier. Having a lever doorknob as opposed to just a turn handle doorknob, it's so much easier to get with your elbow if your arms are full. It's so much easier for someone who has difficulty using their hands with manipulation to get into a facility as well. I keep my eye open for that all the time. And I changed my 2 main entrances to my house to a lever doorknob because most of the time my arms are full with about 7 different backpacks and groceries and children.
So we call that the curb cut phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so all of those little things that are part of the ADA, but that benefit everybody.
Right.
So the ramps, it's not just for people in wheelchairs and with mobility issues. It's also for people pushing strollers and shopping carts. So it makes it a lot easier to access buildings that way. Elevators are part of the ADA. So if you have more than 3 floors, you have to have an elevator. That wasn't the case before. So that benefits everybody. Having lights that come on automatically when you walk into a room.
Right.
Again, so you don't have to access or find the light switch, be able to turn on the light switch. Just having those types of things just makes it a lot easier.
And then the thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it sounds unpopular, but let's talk about bathrooms.
Yeah. So that's a component of the ADA. So,
right.
So you have to be able to get to the building, get in the building, access the services that are there, and then bathrooms are the 4th part.
I mean, we all go.
We do. So at the Delaware County Board, we're really huge proponents of universal changing tables.
Yes.
And so those are changing tables that look a lot like what you might think of a baby changing table, but they're larger and they're for an adult as well. And so I know that the library has been a great partner with us in accessing those and having those available in your buildings. Delaware County has a whole lot of universal changing tables now in our county, and we want more. We want there to be changing tables everywhere people go and spend time.
Let's talk about some of the resources that the Board of DD has available for people who are hearing some of these things and they're like, yeah, I wish we could do that in my facility, but maybe we don't have the funds. So what are some of the resources that you have available?
Sure. So our board has always been a proponent of helping the community be more compliant and more accessible to people with disabilities. So we have just an ongoing accessibility and inclusion grant that's available to any organization to apply for funds to help make sure that their facilities are more accessible. And I know the library has accessed those as well.
Yep, for that universal changing table.
And this year in particular, throughout the rest of 2024, we have access to some ARPA funds And so those ARPA funds have allowed us to be a lot more aggressive and fund projects that we wouldn't be able to fund normally throughout the year. And so we've partnered with the Delaware County District Library on a number of things, and I hope you'll talk about some of those.
I'm happy to.
We partnered with Preservation Parks. They're building a fully compliant ADA accessible with a changing table restroom that will be open all year. You know, they don't have that right now, so they'll have that all year. And they're also going to build a Braille trail, which will allow people with low vision or blindness to be able to access a trail throughout the park on their own independently, which is huge. We don't have that ability to access nature if you have those concerns
right
on your own right now.
At the library, we are using those funds to purchase a vehicle. We have an outreach services department which meets the needs of folks who cannot, for whatever reason, make it into the library. And that's one of the things. We have our 5 brick and mortar buildings, but we also serve several hundred patrons on a daily and weekly basis to deliver services directly to them. And I've gone on many runs with them, and it's so much fun. We go to daycares, we go to communities, but we also go into people's homes. And that's available for anyone to sign up for, even if the disability is temporary. If it's something like, I had hip surgery and I can't walk for the next, several weeks, then we're happy to deliver those services to your home. Or if it's something that's more permanent. We're also using it to purchase like emergency, what are they called? Mats. The
evacuation mats.
Evacuation mats. Thank you. I was like, you read my application. Emergency evacuation mats. So if we have 2 multi-story buildings in our facilities and in our suite of libraries, and if somebody is on the 2nd story and we have an emergency and they have to go to the stairwell, but they are unable to go down the stairs, they would normally use the elevator, then that allows emergency services to safely get them out of the building with all of the resources that they have at their disposal. And then we're also using it for an intercom system for emergency alerts and for communication purposes at our Liberty Branch Library. Whenever that building was put together, there were some oversights. And so we thought we had everything. We walked through with Chase. We thought we had everything together visually, accessible. And then we thought about sound. And we were like, wow, how would we let people know that there's an emergency in this building? And sound was not really accounted for. So though that building is just 18 months old, we're excited to go ahead and continue to progress with it. Just because it's new doesn't mean we can't progress with it.
That's right. And it's a moving target. So we always want to make sure things that stay compliant and we move and we learn. We want to make sure that we're adapting to how things change.
Right, exactly. We're so excited that we get to be partners with such a forward-thinking organization in the community. Is there anything else coming up that you want to plug that's happening on your, in your building?
Of course,
this year?
Of course.
Yeah.
So we have our signature event that's coming up in just about a month. It's our block party and provider fair. This year it's going to be on September 5th from 4 to 7 p.m. at North Orange Park. So it's a new location. If you've joined us in the past, we'll be at North Orange Park this year, but we're really, really excited. We're going to have probably 300-400 people. All of our community partners will be there. Our providers will be there, and we'll have food trucks available as well.
That's always been a really fun time. We bring our bookmobile to this event, which is part of that outreach services department that I was talking about just a moment ago. And the bookmobile itself is accessible. We have a ramp on the back of it that primarily our folks use to get the book carts off of the vehicle, but it also can let somebody with a wheelchair or other mobility device onto the vehicle.
Yep, that's one of the benefits of the ADA. It helps everybody.
Exactly. It works both ways. We're excited this fall. We're coming back with our Buddies Books and Bubbles story times. This is a once a month event that we're doing between the Delaware and the Liberty Branch libraries. It rotates, and this is a story time that is for all abilities. So people who are not yet elementary aged can come to a story time, and people with disabilities can learn right next to people without, and we'll just have lots of fun. Some of the things that our librarians incorporate as they've talked with our friends who are experts at the Board of DD have been things like having a visual chart of what's coming next so that they can plan, so they see that and they know, okay, it's this and then this. Some of the other things, they incorporate some sign language into their learning. And then, of course, at the end, they do lots of fun things with a dance party with bubbles. It's also not as stimulating as a normal story time would be.
Well, and it's great because if you need to get up and move around, you have the
Yeah.
freedom to do that as well.
And you could do that during any story time. I mean, they're kids, so
Right.
so it's all good. But that one is incredibly special. So we've got, like I said, it's the last week of Summer Reading Club. So make sure that you get into the Delaware County District Library, whatever your home branch is, by tomorrow, preferably next week if you have to, and turn in your Summer Reading Club to get your prizes. We've still got those prizes out and about. We've got lots of fun things coming up, but most of our programs are kind of calming down as we let the families get back to school mode. But check out the website on Wednesday, the 31st of July. We've got lots of Maker Studio programs that are posted. And on Thursday, August 1st, if you need that one final bang at the library before the kids go back to school, we've got a Finding Nemo movie night. So 5 o'clock at the Liberty Branch Library. Bring your cozy things, sit on our learning stairs, and watch Finding Nemo. So
Sounds great.
It's going to be a great time. All right. Well, Chase, thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You were a wonderful guest and co-host since we were Sans Molly. Mark, thank you so much for doing the board and sharing us your reading.
My pleasure.
Of the latest things that you've been reading. And until next week, guys, we'll see you in the stacks.